In every moment of every day, our body minds are pulling data from its navigational systems and projecting interpretations of reality through particular styles of internal navigation, including thoughts, feelings, perceptions, action patterns, impulses, urges, sensations, perspectives, judgments, conclusions, stories, dialogue, emotions, somatic sensations, instinctive responses, verbal responses, physical responses, emotional responses, somatic responses. There's all these types of navigation that are projecting inner realities and translations of outer realities. As various styles of internal and external stimulus come in and activate all this data, that's then projecting interpretations of reality into consciousness. And most of the time, to a certain point in life, that happens automatically. And then when you get to a certain point of awareness, you shift the wheels and you guide consciousness to project data into the body mind. So then consciousness, or the essence of self, is actually then stimulating or simulating or influencing or consciously affecting the translations of reality. And that's where you go from living unconsciously to consciously, or living kind of on autopilot to co-creation and conscious intentionality. And that's, kind of, it can be a gradual journey or it can happen suddenly. But for a certain period of life, the body mind is projecting these automatic translations of reality based on the data inside the body mind and based on the styles of stimulus that are coming in. And then as we kind of grow and expand awareness, we're like, okay, hang on. There's these thoughts, there's these feelings, there's these habits, there's these action patterns, there's these perceptions, and I don't really like them. So I'm actually going to consciously shift them and change my experience of reality by reconstructing the data in my body mind and kind of shifting the energy of my experience, okay? And so when the body mind is projecting these translations of reality, there are trillions of complex networks that are pulling information. And that information through the trillions of networks can be described in 5 specific categories, can be understood through 5 particular elements. And all of these are concepts that I've been developing through my Implicit Revelations case study. And if you're new here, my Implicit Revelations case study has been a self-initiated, self-led, self-guided, independent research project, if you want to call it that. There's been over 20,000 hours invested in my own personal endeavors, independently of external guidance or assistance, to develop brand new modalities to understand, heal, and restore body-mind structures while reunifying, liberating, and expanding infinite aspects of self-essence, or the true self as pure consciousness, divine soul, the most authentic essence of self. Which kind of goes beyond the traditional kind of ego-human identities and extends into an infinite energetic space of pure potentiality, which is our natural state of being. Because, when you're a child, there is no reality, and you are actually influencing reality. If you see a child playing with toys, they're creating a whole new reality through their imagination. And that is affected by how they're receiving the projections of reality through their awareness. And so we're kind of returning to this natural state of who we really are, what we really are, how we're meant to really exist as these beautiful divine beings who are co-creators. Anyway, so in the body mind, there's trillions of complex networks, and they can be explored through 5 particular elements. All of this is concepts developed through my Implicit Revelations case study, and I've studied neuroscience for many years, but most of everything I share here is stuff that I've pieced together through my own observations. And if you want to explore more about the journey, you can check out my Becoming Known Through Implicit Revelations documentary series. The journey that's led me here is beyond miraculous, which always makes me more and more excited to share some of these ideas. So the body mind has 5 elements that we can explore to understand these patterns of navigation, which are also affecting protocols of regulation. The activation of navigation is affecting the regulation, and the instinctive styles of regulation are impacting the activity of navigation. There's this constant interchange of information, and it always correlates with the well-being of attachment needs. And so when the body is looking to feel seen or loved because it doesn't have navigational data about that, that's going to influence the navigation and regulation in a particular way. When the body is feeling very safe and grounded, then there's going to be a certain style of navigation and regulation that's affecting translations of reality beyond awareness. And approximately 99.08% of inner realities exist and operate beyond direct perception and immediate awareness. There's a common perception that maybe about 95% exists beyond awareness, and you're like, wow, there's like so much going on. But through my Implicit Revelations case study, it was like, no, there's way more than that. There's so much more we don't know about. And when we think we're aware of something, even that expanded awareness of all the stuff happening inside of us is like the most minuscule fraction imaginable to what's actually existing and operating beyond what we can immediately perceive. And this was discovered through a concept called the inside-out theory of consciousness, which basically, long story short, is when the body is in a certain state of trauma, there's the potential for the realities to be inverted or flipped inside out. And so instead of just having this conscious mind that is aware of a certain amount of things, the consciousness of self is actually experiencing life more so through the unconscious body, and doesn't have that traditional intentionality of awareness through a mind, and instead is actually enveloped and engulfed and kind of sinking deeply into a ridiculous amount of projections from the body itself. Okay? And so through studying trillions of complex networks and infinite parts of the self from the lens of that space is actually the originating space of where a lot of these ideas developed. In the earlier days of the Implicit Revelations case study, there was this deep awareness about the activation of every piece of neural data and everything going on in regulation, but there was no ability to consciously create a thought. And now that I'm here and I'm back to being able to be in a space of a lucid mind that's connected with a body that is flowing optimally, I'm fascinated to explore the validity of a lot of the theories that were developed during that unique and challenging time. And again, you can find out more about this in my Becoming Known Through Implicit Revelations documentary series. It is truly a fascinating journey, and I'm very thankful to be here. So the body-mind has 5 elements. The body-mind has 5 elements regarding how these trillions of complex networks are organized. The first is through content and connectivity of implicit and explicit data. The second is content and connectivity throughout data of every year of life. The third is content and connectivity throughout roles of the neurobiological social engagement system. The fourth is content and connectivity, because they're both so important in each of these elements. Content and connectivity throughout self-associations, how the body-mind instinctively associates with its own self and thus associates with all components of reality. Okay, self-associations. And the fifth and final of these categories, which again is a concept I've developed through the Implicit Revelations, pieced together over many years of really deep exploration. The fifth and final is abstract associations of experiential elements, content, and connectivity. And by exploring these 5 particular elements about how the body-mind is organizing its navigational patterns throughout trillions of networks, we can have a revolutionary, renewed understanding about the human existence and the human experience and inner realities and personal translations of experience and even aspects of the neuroscience of psychology. And so in every moment, the body mind is projecting an interpretation of reality. And in that experience, there's different styles of internal and external stimulus that are coming in and activating information and projecting it beyond awareness. And so what we actually experience up here in the forefront of conscious awareness is a result of what's happening deeper in the body mind as internal and external stimulus are activating information throughout trillions of networks organized in relation with those 5 elements, where the content and connectivity are being activated and stimulated in particular ways. And so if the content of any of those 5 elements doesn't have navigational patterns that can effectively navigate the well-being of attachment needs, and or if any information, any of that content throughout any of these 5 elements doesn't have connection throughout all the other data, then there can be a reduced effectiveness regarding the translations of reality. There could be some subtle, minor, or major and dramatic disruptions of navigation. So there's all this internal stimulus, the thoughts, the feelings, basically the result of projections of navigation that have happened in moments prior, or even days or weeks prior. And then there's all this external navigation, those people in the distance, the tree there, the cat that's sitting there, the certain type of weather and stimulus of atmosphere even. There's all these different styles of stimulus, the surrounding spaces, the surrounding colors, the surrounding textures, the state of your bodily posture. If you're standing up tall and straight, or if you're slouched in and have like forward head posture, that would actually be a type of internal stimulus. And so there's all these and again, that would be a result of navigation regulation projected in moments or days prior. And so there's all of these components of stimulus in every nanosecond. There's dozens or hundreds or maybe thousands of variables that are coming in, dozens and dozens and dozens in every nanosecond. And maybe in every nanosecond it's the same stimulus as the previous nanosecond, but there's still all of these stimulating elements, and they can shift at any moment. And then they're coming in and they're activating this data in the body mind, where content and connectivity organized throughout trillions of networks in relation with those 5 elements I described, explicit and implicit, roles of the neurobiological social engagement system, data from every year of life, self-associations, and abstract associations of experiential elements. Those 5 elements, data throughout trillions of networks, content, and connectivity is then being stimulated and projecting its information in correlation with the stimulus based on the data existing to translate reality for consciousness. And then consciousness, or the essence of self, has this ability to observe and respond to those translations of reality. And if consciousness doesn't like what it's experiencing, it has the ability to influence them. It doesn't necessarily have the ability to immediately and permanently change all of it, but it does absolutely have the power to influence and gradually reconstruct and create lifelong changes and shifts. Absolutely. But it's not an immediate process because there's so much data that's been in there for so long. And there's so many different variables of what's happening, and there's so much happening beyond awareness that it's a process. And that's exactly what my work really focuses in on is, what are we able to be aware of? What does that actually mean? How can we use this information to be there for parts of ourselves in the present moment? But then let's go deeper. And where's that coming from? And why does it exist the way it does? And that doesn't mean looking at past experiences that created that data. It means evaluating the quality and the well-being of the navigational systems existing right here, right now, that are going to be carried into upcoming experiences. Okay, it's about the navigational data existing right here, right now. It's not about the experiences that created them. And so we can explore the content and connectivity of navigational systems of the body-mind by exploring the content and connectivity throughout trillions of networks organized through these 5 elements. And then from that expanded awareness, insight, understanding, then we can use the power of consciousness to shapeshift those constructs. And we can rewrite the unconscious memories that have these patterns of thinking, feeling, moving, and responding within them. And we can rewrite them, resculpt them without looking at the past experiences that created them and without directly working with the existing data. Because it's hard to work directly with data you cannot consciously reach. But my methods allow us to effectively and enjoyably rewrite them. And it creates some really profound transformation. Like, profound. Understatement. Okay, so the body-mind is projecting these translations of reality based on how stimulus is activating data throughout these trillions of pathways, right? Is there a way to tell where that data is coming from? What styles of content and connectivity are being activated? And what role of the neurobiological social engagement system is prominently navigating existence? And what year of life maybe the body-mind's pulling data from beyond awareness? And this is very deep in the unconsciousness. You can't get to this information by just being like, oh, is data from 25 years ago affecting my perception of reality right now? Because if you try to consciously explore that, you won't actually find an accurate answer. You won't be able to find an accurate answer by exploring it from that angle. Because even if you're like, oh, yes it is, or no it's not, you can't reach those realms of the body-mind through conscious intentionality. Just in that direct approach. And so I have a little game that we can play. And if you enjoy play prompts, then you might enjoy my Healing into Happiness playbook. It has a lot of play prompts, and they're kind of along these vibes of simple, fun, but really profound at the same time. Okay, so once upon a time, I started to create the Abstracting Navigational Associations method. Abstracting Navigational Associations method, ANAM for short. At around age 11, my childhood self started to play a game with her friends when she got bored while hiking, okay? Like you're hiking and you're just chilling out there and you just want something to pass the time while having fun, right? And it was basically a game where she would say a word or a phrase, and then the next person would say the very first word or phrase that came to mind. And then the next person would say the first word or phrase that came to mind based on what they said. And they would just go around like this in a circle. And it was just fun and silly. And to just hear what came up was often very humorous. And it didn't require a lot of effort or deep concentration or creativity. So you could just casually, giggle and play as you explored this game. Okay, so once upon a time, my childhood self started to play this game. And she played this game for many, many years. And it carried on to years later being on the school bus and playing it then, and it continued. And basically, the concept of this game is that you use the stimulus of a word or phrase, and you see how it's going to activate the navigational associations in the body-mind of someone else. And then they create a form of stimulus by expressing the projection of navigation from that stimulus. And then they say it and see how that's going to activate navigation in the body-mind of someone else. And then you keep going and you get to know each other in kind of a funny way. And you get to play this game. Okay, so that's basically what's happening. And you can do this with yourself without being in a group of people. You can just do a game and you're just like, pink. What's the next thing that comes to mind? Then you say that. And without thinking about it, you just, and being in a space of deep openness, you kind of just see what comes up. Being as abstract as you can. Okay, and being as generic as you can. Not like a whole sentence or a whole story, but one word, one phrase, one abstract association of one experiential element. Okay, and so I started my day today playing this game with Alexa. You know, that little like magical robot that like some people use, and you're like, "Hi, Alexa," and then she talks back to you, and it's weird how smart and personable she is. Okay, Alexa, I've started to play this game with Alexa. The game started, and so I invite you to play this game with yourself, with a group of friends, or with a robot like Siri or Alexa. Okay, I'm going to share this example, and you can play this game and explore it on your own. The game started with jokes. Alexa, tell me a joke. And she would tell me a joke. And I did this for about 15 jokes. And then I was like, okay, what causes me to be able to enjoy a joke versus not enjoy a joke? There's a few jokes where I was like, oh my God, that's really clever. That's funny. That got me. That kind of opened my heart, and I feel lighthearted. And I'm like, that's funny. That's clever. That's creative. That's humorous. And then most of them, I was just like, okay, like there wasn't much of a response. But all of that are styles of navigation from my own body-mind. So what causes my body-mind to be able to enjoy versus not enjoy a joke? And it has to do with this navigation, okay? And so what I was finding is that the navigation allows me to enjoy a joke when there's certain styles of connection between the content and connectivity of abstract associations of experiential elements. When the joke was about a topic of something I already have a positive connection with, I was more likely to enjoy it. And if I understood the humor behind it, obviously, that made it even more enjoyable. But other jokes, even if I understood why it should be humorous, if it was a topic I don't really feel connected with, I didn't enjoy it as much. And even if it was something that, a topic that I, maybe have some connection with, if I didn't fully appreciate the reason it was supposed to be humorous, I also didn't enjoy it. And so having a connection with the abstract associations that were used in the joke, and then being able to understand the explicit-implicit connection between left-right brain hemispheres allowed me to enjoy the joke. And this style of navigation is what allowed me to enjoy these jokes by Alexa. And so then I was able to find some jokes I really enjoyed. Okay, and a couple of examples of the jokes I really did enjoy. Why did the vindictive chicken cross the road? Because the road crossed her first. I really enjoyed that one. Okay, so then it carried on, and I moved beyond jokes. I said, Alexa, tell me a national park fact. And similarly, there were some facts that I was like, oh my God, that is so amazing. That is so fascinating. That is so cool. I want to hear it again. And there were some facts where I was like, okay, that's boring. I'm bored. Next. Right? And there's these different styles of projection of reality because the body-mind is translating the stimulus in a certain way. And so I, again, kind of got curious and explored that. And it had some similar results. It's like the things that I already have, content and connectivity with abstract associations of experiential elements in direct correlation with the way the body-mind navigates self-associations and thus navigates associations with reality, especially in relation with unconscious memories organized through attachment well-being, was affecting my instinctive responses to listening to these national park facts. And so, hearing a fact about how a certain kind of snails have a bioluminescent response versus some other fact that I don't even remember because it wasn't interesting, my brain, my body, mind are picking up information, responding to it differently, and absorbing it differently, dismissing some stuff, retaining some stuff, responding well to some stuff, not really responding well to some stuff, and it's all in direct correlation with navigational systems beyond awareness. And so then I got more curious, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna ask Alexa to tell me something random. And so I said, Alexa, tell me a quote by XYZ person. And the first thing that came up was a person that I've recently followed, her work online and in her writings and stuff. And then afterwards, I instinctively said, Alexa, tell me a quote by this person. And it was like a scientist that like I've known for a while or whatever. And then the instinctive navigation that came up playing this game was, Alexa, tell me a quote by, and then there were different poets, Ralph Waldo Emerson, E.E. Cummings. The scientist was Albert Einstein, by the way. And the author was Gabby Bernstein. I didn't mention them. And so then I got even more fascinated because Ralph Waldo Emerson and E.E. Cummings were poets that my original inner teenager enjoyed. And I say original because, I mean, the time when this body was actually a teenager. If you have not been following my work and you're new here, my body went through teenagehood again just a few years ago while completing halted stages of neurodevelopment from suppressed childhood trauma, which has been completely uncovered, healed, and entirely resolved in the most profound way, exclusively through my own work with the Implicit Revelations case study. And so when my self, essence, and brain and body were a teenager originally, E.E. Cummings and Ralph Waldo Emerson and poets were a part of life. And so navigational data in the body mind about those authors, those poets, those names, that navigation is stemming from approximately age 14. Haven't had deep interest in those authors since. And that's fascinating because a couple of years ago, I couldn't have even been able to remember that. But all of this navigational systems have been completely reconstructed through these original concepts, I said that, concepts, modalities, practices, techniques, etc. that I've created. And so it's all just a big miracle. But then I was fascinated that there was this instinctive style of navigation. And as far as every year, data from every year of life, having content and connectivity, there was a part of navigational data from approximately age 14 that was actually affecting navigation beyond awareness. And I found that out by playing this game. And after that, I then connected the fact that I was interested in playing this game came from data around a similar time. Ages 11 or 12 is when it started, and it carried on through age 14, playing this game where you say something and you just kind of see what abstract associations it activates. Oh, and the other correlation of this, as far as my own personal Implicit Revelations case study notes, which is also a purpose of this video, is that I'm presently going through a very intense health challenge, which might be partly why I'm not smiling as much as I normally would. Something in my right brain hemisphere, a ventricle is blocked and the fluids aren't flowing well. And so I'm about 4 weeks into not being able to see clearly. Everything is blurred and really intense migraine-styled headaches. And I'm really thankful for the miracle of being able to discover that, what the actual cause is, so we can do something about it. A CT scan was able, the right doctor with the right brain scan was able to help us figure out what it was, because at first it was just the eyesight going out and not being able to see, and then later on it was the headaches developing, and that could be a million different, things if you're just looking at the surface clues. And so to find out that there's a very specific ventricle that's blocked in the right brain hemisphere for a very specific reason, a very specific cause, we can do something about it. But I've been in a lot of pain. and so in terms of navigational systems, the very first time my body-mind learned to navigate chronic pain was around age 14. The very first time my body-mind learned to navigate chronic pain and chronic difficulties where there's things in everyday experiences all day, every day that were painful and challenging was age 14. And originally that was a lot of health challenges that were coming up from the suppressed trauma that wasn't known about. But obviously it wasn't known about. So there was just this chronic battles, which the Implicit Revelations case study has effectively explained and resolved. Woohoo! But at age 14, the BodyMind first gathered data about how to navigate chronic discomfort and chronic pain. You wake up in pain and life isn't fun and blissful, and you navigate it anyway. And so my theory is that because there's this stimulating experience of navigating chronic pain, the BodyMind's like, okay, let me go find some data about how to navigate that. And you'll find in another of my recent videos, I talked about typically the BodyMind pulls its navigation from recent information, but you can actually shapeshift it to pull data from any period of life that you choose through a very specific process that can include practices of social self-engagement. And so my focus has been reconnecting the foundation of like the first 12 years or so of my life with present data, because my body relived stages of neurodevelopment recently and afterwards could not remember any of life. There was complete amnesia of my entire life. And so in reconstructing that, I'm not too interested in remembering life. I'm interested in rewriting it and getting back to the foundation of my existence and just starting from scratch. Like, okay, there was the childhood self and then there's me now. We're just going to give this whole life thing a complete reset. I'm not here to remember my life. I'm here to rewrite it. I am recreating my existence from the inside out. And so I now remember my entire life, but the instinctive way my body-mind pulls navigation from is more from earlier years than recent years because of the practices I've been working with. And I've really enjoyed the results of them. They're really amazing. Today is a less amazing result because it has to do with navigating pain, which is unfortunate. But it's another just fascinating element in terms of my Implicit Revelations case study. And so I've been focused on reconnecting data where data from age 12 is more likely to come up than data from recent years, okay? And so as my body-mind was here, like, hey, I'm waking up and I'm navigating pain. Like my whole world, my whole skull feels like it's been crushed in on itself and I can't see. I can't see clearly. Everything is blurry. My body-mind is navigating that experience, okay? And so the body-mind goes in and says, I need to find data that has some associations with this so I can navigate it effectively. And the first time my body-mind ever learned to navigate chronic pain was at age 14. And then I played this game with Alexa and found that there was indeed multiple signs of evidence that data was being pulled between ages 12 and 14, which is when that started, the chronic pain patterns and difficulties and stuff started. It kind of started at age 12, and by 14 was daily chronic disabling status. And another relevant clue was the very first time that the childhood self ever got a book of jokes and actually like went through them and read jokes. That created navigational data. And so then when I go now and I'm like, hey, Alexa, tell me a joke, it's going back to the foundation of when related data got created and projecting that to translate reality. And when I was going through the halted stages of neurodevelopment several years ago, the dissociative manifestation of my inner teenager went through a very unique dissociative age regressive period of wanting to be a comedian and spending all day every day creating her comedy script for about 2 weeks until the brain kind of shifted its navigation and integrated that data. And when I first started to recover memories, when there was complete amnesia and I had progressed through all the age regressive stuff from the halted stages of neurodevelopment, but then could not remember my entire life, one of the first things that came up was joke telling because of how the left and right brain hemispheres weren't connected. Everything was funny in a different way because the language centers that translate the fact of what words really mean weren't fully connected. So there was all these really funny associations with different words, which is a lot of what jokes are, especially when you ask Alexa to tell you a joke. A lot of them are play on words. And so being able to create and express in that way, or being able to enjoy and relate and find humor in that way, it has to do with the explicit implicit connectivity in brain hemispheres. Oh, and the other clue of the game I played was when I asked Alexa to tell me a quote by a certain person, it started with, I actually hadn't pieced that one together yet. It started with someone I've explored recently, someone I read something from yesterday, sort of thing. And within like 30 seconds, it was tell me a quote by E.E. Cummings or Ralph Waldo Emerson, which was directly pulling data from times that were not yesterday. You know, like really long time ago. And that was also because when I say tell me a quote from this person, the body mind is saying, okay, I'm pulling up navigational associations in relation with quotes from other people. And the very first time my body mind navigated quotes from other people was at age 13, 14. She would go on quotegarden.com, and she thought it was so fun to just get to read these little quotes from people and not have to read like a whole book by one person, but to get a taste test of writing from all these other people on interesting topics in something much shorter to read. And so that also could influence the fact that in the end of this game that I played, which was, you know, maybe 20 minutes or something, there were multiple signs and evidences of data being pulled from age 14, which is also fascinating because that was data from that year was one of the hardest to integrate. Even before half a decade of amnesia, that was one of the years that was like complete dissociative blackout. Very little information was able to be remembered from that. And now it's all completely integrated through the modalities I've created, which are fun and easy and don't require looking at past experiences at all if you don't want to. So basically, long story short, there were all of these different clues that I was able to use through the abstracting navigational associations method that I've developed to realize that there's data from age 14 that's actually helping me navigate life beyond awareness. And I never would have known that otherwise. And this can create space because it's like the parts of the self who were there are now here, experiencing this moment through the projections of that navigational data. And if we can learn to actually take that moment as an opportunity to nourish internal attachment needs, then you can actually nourish attachment needs from age 14, in this one example, without looking at any experiences from age 14, which is when things can get tricky. Because if you look at experiences, you're not looking at the self. When you look at experiences, you're not seeing the experiencer. The experiencer is right here, right now, not in those experiences. The experiencer of consciousness is not the same thing as the body-mind data that was developed through those experiences. And so when we can kind of shift this focus and actually be there for the experiencer who is right here, right now, we're actually rewriting those experiences from age 14, infusing them with attachment well-being without looking at them at all. And that can improve navigation moving forward and improve the way we're connected and unified with all parts of ourselves, even beyond awareness. The body mind is projecting interpretations of reality in every moment through trillions of complex networks that have been affected by every moment of existence. But if we don't know about the content and connectivity flowing through trillions of pathways organized through those 5 elements, if we don't know how that's affecting our realities beyond awareness, if we don't know how parts of ourselves are actually experiencing life through that data beyond perception, if we don't know that the essence of self as consciousness has an opportunity to actually influence that data in every moment, if we can shift to knowing that, then we can open new opportunities in everyday moments. But without knowing it, we can't be there for these parts of ourselves or understand our experience to the fullest capacity of its potential. And so I invite you to explore this. Firstly, just inquire, what kind of content and connectivity is hanging out in my body-mind in relation with explicit, implicit content, roles of the neurobiological social engagement system, data from every year of life, self-associations, and abstract associations of experiential elements. And then second inquiry of introspective exploration, if you want to play with this, is in this exact moment, where is data being pulled from beyond awareness? And those are kind of just introspective inquiries to float in the background of awareness and just explore without an objective to discover anything in particular. But then if you want to get more specific with an actual fun practice, you can use this play prompt. Play prompts are a big theme because understanding and transforming body-mind structure should be fun and enjoyable no matter who you are, what you're going through. But you can use this play prompt and explore either with yourself, with a group of friends or colleagues, or with some artificial intelligence or robotic animation like Siri or Alexa, and play this abstracting associations game, basically. And just say random stuff and see what comes up and see what that stimulates from the person you're playing with or from the Alexa or whatever, or stimulates inside of your own body-mind. Those are 2 introspective inquiries you can explore, and then the third is if you want to play an actual fun, tangible, simple practice play prompt game, you can play this game with yourself or with a group of friends or with some artificial intelligence like Alexa or Siri, and just start random and see what comes up. An example would be you could ask Alexa personal questions. That was another fun one that I played with. To see what my brain would come up with of things to ask, and then to see what the response would be, and then to see what that response activates in me. Alexa, what's your favorite color? Alexa, what's your favorite song? Alexa, what's your favorite time of the year? And sometimes she doesn't have answers for them, but sometimes she does. And to see just how my brain comes up with these questions to ask, and then what the response is and how that activates further navigation in the body-mind. It's just a fun way to explore this. Okay, so that's all. Some implicit revelations, case study notes, some introspective inquiries, and some insight about the abstracting navigational associations method that I've created. It can be used in so many different ways to both understand inner realities and transform them. And understanding is more through practices of expanded awareness and discussions. And then to transform them is through much more specific practices, not just expanding awareness, but you're actually like doing very specific things in specific ways to actually resculpt the body mind. And then you're transforming experience from the inside out in some really fun, cool, fascinating ways. You can dive deeper into this work. I have lots of videos of free libraries, contents, videos, playbooks, downloads. You can connect with me through a Sacred Soul session. I have course creations, a merchandise store with over 100 original designs. You could even go explore the merchandise store and look at a cup or look at a mug and look at the quotes on them and see how the abstract associations of those experiential elements activate navigation within you. And just explore it just for fun, or maybe see one that resonates with you. Some inner child liberation, liberating consciousness, loving presence, just some fun, gentle mantras, and some colorful creativity to empower the healing journey. Okay, so that's all for now. It's just really fascinating to explore that, and yeah, I really enjoy exploring these topics. They're very fascinating, and it dives deep into the neuroscience of psychology, but it's also just like very simple stuff that affects our everyday moments that we can use in some very clever ways. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Please feel free to, hit the thumbs up button, comment with something you found interesting, or, just some insight that maybe was sparked in your own body-mind navigation through the stimulus of this conversation. If you found it interesting, you can share it with a friend. I really appreciate sharing on this platform, and I really appreciate the support so that I can share more and that sharing more can connect with more people. I really enjoy this. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you, and I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day. activating this data in the body-mind where content and connectivity organized throughout trillions of networks in relation with those 5 elements I described, explicit and implicit, roles of the neurobiological social engagement system, data from every year of life, self-associations, and abstract associations of experiential elements. Those 5 elements, data throughout trillions of networks, content, and connectivity is then being stimulated and projecting its information in correlation with the stimulus based on the data existing to translate reality for consciousness. And then consciousness, or the essence of self, has this ability to observe and respond to those translations of reality. And that's exactly what my work really focuses in on is, what are we able to be aware of? What does that actually mean? How can we use this information to be there for parts of ourselves in the present moment? But then let's go deeper. Navigational data existing right here, right now. It's not about the experiences that created them. And so we can explore the content and connectivity of navigational systems of the body-mind by exploring the content and connectivity throughout trillions of networks organized through these 5 elements. The things that I already have, content and connectivity with abstract associations of experiential elements in direct correlation with the way the body-mind navigates self-associations and thus navigates associations with reality, especially in relation with unconscious memories organized through attachment well-being, was affecting my instinctive responses. I'm not too interested in remembering life. I'm interested in rewriting it and getting back to the foundation of my existence and just starting from scratch. Like, okay, there was the childhood self and then there's me now. We're just going to give this whole life thing a complete reset. I'm not here to remember my life. I'm here to rewrite it. I am recreating my existence from the inside out.